Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Tuesday! Yeah. It's the 9th of April, 2026, and yeah, the hits just keep on coming. The subterfuge, the propaganda, the lying. Oh, man.
You won't be trusted anymore.
All right, welcome to the Thursday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, on this Thursday, and where are we going now? What's happening now? Well, I got to tell you, I apologize. I was about 10 or 15 seconds late getting started here, and that's because I opened up my computer, and for some reason, I got all these tabs open, and let me tell you here's what's going on my computer.
Offer more of the amenities.
So
there's all kinds of tabs that opened up, and there's all this audio, and I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. And, okay, here's one of them anyway. There's one. Okay, I got that one shut down. Here's another one. Okay, I don't know. I just opened it up. Okay, finally. I found them all. All right. Little technical difficulty here. Wish I had a producer. Don't have somebody else to cue all this stuff and make sure everything's all lined up. So I have to do all this all by my lonesome. Anyway, okay, where do we stand right now? Of course, the big talk is about what's going on with this ceasefire, this non-ceasefire. And there are, of course, Pete Hegseth and the government saying that, Lebanon was not included in that ceasefire. Well, wait a second. Why would it not be included in the ceasefire? As a matter of fact, the Pakistani prime minister, and remember, they had the Pakistanis were basically working on this negotiation, and they were mediators between Iran and the United States. Now, we all know, nobody can deny it, that the United States has been co-opted and commandeered by Israel. Let that settle in. There's anybody who wants to deny it, okay, fine. We got plenty of Zionists out there, members of the ADL and the Jewish Defense League and all this other stuff saying, if you dare say that Jews are controlling everything, you're an anti-Semite. No, it's just what's happening. They're trying to tell you not to believe your lying eyes. But the bottom line here is we all know that Israel is calling the shots behind the scenes. So what happened here? Now, according to the Pakistanis, yes, Lebanon was included in this ceasefire deal. So I have to ask the question, why wouldn't it be? The object here is to stop all hostilities. Everybody just stop what you're doing. Let's take a breath. Let's work around this situation. Well, 1 hour after the supposed ceasefire was agreed to, Israel started bombing southern Lebanon. I mean, relentlessly, hundreds of bombings. And now let me remind you, they're doing the same thing in southern Lebanon as they were doing in Gaza. The only difference is in Gaza, they were going after Hamas. And now in South Lebanon, they're saying it's Hezbollah. Yeah, it's Hezbollah, another boogeyman. Now, we keep on getting these boogeymen. Yeah, there's Al-Qaeda and there's the Taliban and, they just don't stop. They don't stop. Now, I have to ask the question, if these are God's chosen people, what's going on with all these, Christian Zionist evangelists here that are just supporting Israel right to the death? If it's deeds, not words, if I shall know ye by your fruits, and you look at what the Israelis are doing, how can you possibly, in your wildest dreams, say that they are God's chosen people? So, anyway, Trump was pretty PO'd. I don't blame him, okay, because he was given bad intel. So I'm going to back this up here. There was somebody grabbed, what's going on here? Why isn't this working here? Let me see. Why isn't this playing? Huh. Oh, no, cancel. That's why. Okay. Again, I wish I had a producer. Anyway, Trump was approached as he was getting ready to go on his Air Force One helicopter there. And I have to apologize because he dropped an F-bomb, and I haven't had time to click it out. But he's pretty PO'd, otherwise he wouldn't have used it. So anyway, here's what happened.
do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the doing. Do you understand that?
There it is, and he walks away. Okay, yeah, he says they don't know what the they're doing. And I would be inclined to agree with him. Anyway, I'm going to remind you of a little story. I don't know if you ever heard this story before, but, a guy dies, and he goes to hell. And he is planted on the shore of the lake of fire. And as this guy's looking out across this burning lake, he sees all these bodies that are floating face down. And he's looking at the carnage, and he sees, just thousands and thousands of these bodies that are floating face down, And he looks out there, and out in the distance, there's a guy wading through all of these floating bodies. And one by one, this guy, he grabs one of the heads by the hair, and he pulls it up and looks at the face, and then he throws it down. And then he goes to another body, and he grabs it by the hair, and he looks at the face, and he throws it down. And the guy sitting on the shore is watching this, and he's saying, oh, my word, this is horrendous. Meanwhile, the guy's still out there, and he grabs another head, and he looks at the face, and he throws it down again. And he's going body by body, looking at the face, looking at the faces, looking at the faces. Finally, the guy on the shore calls out to the guy waiting in the lake of fire, and he says, what are you doing? And the guy looks, he grabs another head, and he looks it up, looks at the face, and he throws it down, and he calls out to the guy on the shore, and he says, I'm looking for the preacher who lied to me. Let that settle in, because something tells me that all those bodies were all preachers. So let that settle in, folks, because we're being lied to. There's all this talk about demons and fallen angels and all this stuff. There's all this talk about extraterrestrials and aliens, and of course we've had Lauren Boebert and Anna Paulina Luna, and Matt Getz and Tim Burchett and Clayton Morris and all these other people that are mainstream media influencers, and they're all talking about these hybrids, these crosses between humanity and aliens. And they're all also saying that, there are extraterrestrials, but they're all demons. Okay, now a lot of people are saying that. Yeah, they say, these extraterrestrials are demons. I would contend that the demons are already here. They're here. I mean, look around the world, for the love of God. There is just the stench of evil is everywhere. The demons have already manifested themselves here. The demons are already influencing all of the people in positions of power. The demons are the ones who are behind the Epstein class, who torture and rape and sodomize and murder children. Don't tell me that the demons aren't already here. Okay? So the point here is that why is the mainstream trying to tell you that if there are extraterrestrials and aliens, they're all demons? Every single one of them are demons. Maybe they're setting up the Operation Bluebeam. Because, of course, if there ever is a real extraterrestrial intervention here on this planet, would they actually be the demons? Or maybe they're here to combat the demons that are already here. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think outside the cage. But I mean, with all this talk about extraterrestrials and hybrids and all this other stuff, I can't help but think, and I mentioned this a few days ago on the show, that this is not a new concept of crossbreeding. No, it's been going on for a long, long, long time. As a matter of fact, in the Old Testament, in the book of Joshua 10:13, it asks the question, is it not written in the book of Jasher? And then also in 2 Samuel 1:18, it says, quote, behold, it is written in the book of Jasher. Now, again, I've referred to this book of Jasher a couple times. Some people say, oh, well, it's not in the King James Version Bible, so I'm not going to pay any attention to it. I'm not going to listen to the book of Maccabees. I'm not going to listen to Jubilees. I'm not going to listen to Enoch. Well, you've closed your mind. The bottom line here is if these two mentions of the book of Jasher are in the Old Testament, that tells me that the book of Jasher predates the Old Testament. So being the curious mind that I am, years ago I got a copy of the book of Jasher and I read it. And it's really interesting because there's a couple of things in here that really should make your head perk up and go, Because in the book of Jasher, as a matter of fact, I'm flipping through it. I've got it highlighted here. Where did it go? I was just looking at it a couple of minutes ago. I closed the book, and now I got to find it again. But this whole issue about hybrids and crossbreeding humans with extraterrestrials or any other type of living creatures, you know, I mean, we heard of the Isle of Dr. Moreau. Yeah, right. But, here it is. In the book of Jasher, in chapter 4, verse 18, it says, and I read, it says, and their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force from their husbands, according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls in the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had been corrupted in ways upon earth, all men and all animals. So, let's see, hybrids, yeah. They were doing hybrid creation way back when, okay? So again, I contend that the demons are already here. Now, a lot of people are, like I said, are saying that the aliens are demons. The aliens are demons. Well, Dr. Stephen Greer does not agree. No, not at all. He says that the real extraterrestrials are really concerned about humanity. They don't want humanity to destroy themselves. I mean, they've been watching us since the very beginning, if that's the case. But the bottom line here is that, if there is going to be an alien intervention, the powers that be on this planet, who we obviously have to seriously say, are they demonic? Are they being controlled by demonic forces? I would have to think they are. So if this earth is already being controlled or influenced by demonic forces, well, then why would it make sense that the extraterrestrials are also demonic? They'd be in league. Yeah. Well, I would contend that any extraterrestrial intervention would be to combat the demonic forces. But the powers that be don't want you to think that way because they've got Operation Bluebeam in their back pocket, and they want to fool America and indeed the entire world into thinking that, yes, these aliens, these extraterrestrials are demons and we have to battle them. We have to fight them. Well, that's only because the demonic forces that are already here on this planet don't want to relinquish control. Does this make sense, or am I just blowing smoke here? Anyway, I haven't had time to open up the phone lines. Okay, I've got to open up this. And I'd love to hear from you, but I haven't opened up the program yet. So let me do this. Let me type in the password. Okay. Okay. Now that does it. Now the phone lines are officially open. Am I crazy? Am I a whack job? The number here is 215-867-8255. Okay, I got a bunch of stuff here. I did not have time to go through and edit these. Usually what I do is I'll record them, and then I have to edit out any shall we say, bad words, okay? Let's see here. There's so many here. Which ones? I wanted to stay on topic here. Well, first of all, let me see here. All right, yeah, this ceasefire thing. Okay, I'm not going to get back into the ceasefire. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, for them not to have included Lebanon into this. So until, as a matter of fact, I played the clip yesterday. Joe Kent had said Israel has got to be reined in. Yes, they do. And anyway, I've got something here from Abby Martin. I got a couple things here from Abby Martin that are kind of important because she's been over to Israel. She's seen what's going on over there. And let's see here. Rockets fired from Gaza as Israeli troops mass near the border. So let's see. Is that the right one? Yeah. Okay, here it is. Yep. And we'll play that.
Out of Israel, the Israeli Prime Minister's spokesman just confirmed babies and toddlers were found with their heads decapitated.
There's no excuse.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. I don't know if you heard about that, but they found 30,000. Let that sink in. 30,000 bodies of children. Yes. Okay, these are God's chosen people. Yeah. Okay, keep telling yourself that. Here's Abby Martin.
Use whatsoever. They are complicit in this. But you see Israel buying up media outlets.
We have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is TikTok.
Okay, he says class. And by the way, that opening introduction was on CNN. That wasn't some crazy left-wing, right-wing radical news group. This was on CNN. Anyway, we continue.
TikTok, number one.
Do you see Israeli billionaires trying to tamp down on the narrative? They're desperate. They're desperate because they know that's the only way they'll survive, is to try to convince the world of the opposite of what we're all seeing. So that's why you see these desperate, pathetic influencers just spewing lies.
I'm here in Gaza, and all I see is food, water, and opportunity. But instead of Hamas distributing the ramen noodles, they're eating it all, and that's why their leaders are on Ozempic.
Because that's all they have left. They don't have anything anymore. But it's too late. We're never going to forget what it looks like when Palestinians hold their children in plastic bags. No one can forget that. I'm never going to forget the sound of a drone emitting a crying baby so it can massacre children who come out of their homes.
جماعة الخير قوات كاب تركض لصوت أطفال الآن من مخيم انصارات.
You hear what they do? Yeah, they fly drones over with speakers with the sound of crying babies to lure the people outside so they can snipe them. Yeah, these are God's chosen people. Keep telling yourself.
And get lured like a cat and mouse. No one's going to forget that. No one's going to forget what it looks like in Gaza today. You can't wash that away. You can't paper over that with degenerate propaganda, base level lies. No one's going to paper over the unvarnished truth of what we've all witnessed for years now. Now this...
We have some...
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so that was Abby Martin, which she was being referred to on CNN. And again, that was CNN that did the opening about the babies. And again, we're talking 30,000 children. Here's another post by Abby Martin.
This rogue, apartheid, genocidal, maniac, serial-killing, pathologically lying state, isolated, shame anyone who goes there. Academics, celebrities, politicians, and they've been exposed for what they are. And Zionism's on its last leg. It only exists by the weight of its propaganda, and that propaganda has collapsed entirely. The world sees Israel for what it is, and it can't last for long in its current state. You cannot expect change in a society this far gone. It is full-throated fascist. Mm-hmm. And that's why they act the way they do, with full, total impunity, because they have no humanity left. This is a society so far gone with protection of a military empire, with hatred in their hearts. And we're seeing essentially the Fourth Reich today, marching forward, and there's no allied forces coming to save us. The Israeli Knesset just passed a law allowing the execution of Palestinian prisoners, but not Israelis. This is the true face of apartheid Israel. But this is nothing new. I saw this firsthand when I was in Israel back in 2016. Full-throated fascism.
You can't deal with these people. There's no need to try. There's no need to talk to them.
There's only one way. I would carpet bomb them.
You would carpet bomb them?
It's the only way you could deal with it.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there because she was interviewing Israelis. And yes, many of them subscribe to the philosophy that you have to kill everybody. You have to kill all the Palestinians, all the Arabs. That's what they believe. Now, this isn't to say that all Jews believe this. However, the Israelis, that's a different story because they have been taught this since birth, to hate, to hate, to hate. And yes, to kill babies, to kill children, because they're going to grow up and hate Israelis. Well, why wouldn't they? You expect these kids to, after having their parents blown up and their houses destroyed and their hospitals destroyed and their schools destroyed, you think they're going to say, oh, okay, well, let me bake you a cake. That's not the way it works. Now, I would put out a plea to all the folks of the Jewish faith out there. If you're not on board with Israel, then you better let yourself be known, because anybody who's sporting that blue star is going to make themselves a target, because the rest of the world is seeing the Israelis for what they are. And all of these people who tout that blue star, all these people out there that, yes, are in control of CBS and NBC and ABC and CNN and Fox and all the other newspapers and all of the pharmaceutical companies and all of Hollywood. Yes, they are in control. And that's not anti-Semitic to say it. It's a simple fact of life that we have a segment of the U.S. population, less than 3%, that is controlling over 95% of just about everything in our country. And it's not anti-Semitic to say that. It's a simple fact. I'm sorry to interrupt Abby. Here she is.
I didn't realize this. I didn't realize how viscerally, grotesquely genocidal Israelis were. How openly fascist they would be to anyone.
Jews shouldn't marry Arabs.
Shouldn't marry Arabs. Why do you feel strongly about that?
Because Jews is a special nation that God gave it to the Jews. We don't want the Arabs to be here.
They knew that they were on camera. That's what's so alarming to me, too. I wasn't trying to hide. I wasn't doing gotcha journalism. I was going up with a camera and saying, generally, what do you think about the situation?
I think Israelis have to take over, and they have to kick them away.
I was so horrified and alarmed at the genocidal rhetoric that was being espoused. Every single person, for every generation, every walk of life, they wanted ethnic cleansing. They said we should nuke them. One little girl laughing, we should kill all Arabs. Kill all Arabs.
We need to kill Arabs. No.
It's sad. It's sad. It really is that people can be that brainwashed. But anyway, and we're not hearing about Gaza anymore. No, Gaza is just basically taking a back seat to everything else, and I understand that. Okay? But the bottom line here is that, these people were in southern Gaza. They've been herded down there. And, of course, they're still starving if they're still alive. At this point, I would have to say Gaza, Palestine is gone. It's just gone. So now we've got to focus on southern Lebanon. So that's what Israel wants to do. They've already completely flattened and razed Gaza. So now they got to focus on southern Lebanon. To hell with the peace agreement. To hell with it all. They don't care about that. All they know is the Greater Israel Project. So, anyway, enough of that. I'm going to take a quick break.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors button, and it'll take you down to a page where you can click on Get More Tank and get all the specifications and details on why this fuel catalyst works. It's a catalyst, not an additive. And that means it makes your fuel burn more efficiently. You get more power. Your engine is cleaner. Yeah, that's good for the environment. And the moneymaker is that once your engine adjusts to the new style of burning fuel, you start to see improvement in your mileage. And after about 4 or 5 tanks, you're going to see your mileage improve anywhere between 15 and 20%, depending, of course, upon your make, model, and year of vehicle and your driving habits as well. So do the math. If you spend $20, and that's what it costs when you use the promo code, you get 5 tablets. And if you're getting 20% better mileage and you got 1 tablet per tank, that means the 5th tank is free. Do the math, folks. This is a no-brainer. Use Get More Tank. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and Get More Tank. All right, just about 32 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And yes, as you regular listeners know, I have no love for the mainstream press. I mean, that's why this song in the very beginning of the program, every time, you won't be trusted anymore. Yeah, that was dedicated to the mainstream press 30 years ago on the first album. Will someone listen? But yeah, people are finally starting to figure out that, yeah, our media is absolutely controlled. And I have to take you back 51 years to 1975, the Church Committee. Anybody remember the Church Committee? Yeah, they were talking about the influence that the CIA has over the media. And, of course, they didn't want to discuss that in open hearings. They said, well, we'll do that, in a special, closed-door hearing to discuss the influence that the government has over our media. But now it's an open discussion. And again, folks like yours truly have been screaming about this for decades. And now people are finally starting to figure out that, yeah, well, maybe there is control. Maybe we do not have a free press. Well, I said many, many years ago that the only people who have a free press is those who own it. Anyway, I don't know who this gentleman is, but he made some very interesting statements about the news and the CIA.
If you talk to your parents, every news anchor that they remember from their childhood, there's like a 90% chance that was actual CIA operative. And this is documented, released documents. Guys like Walter Cronkite, like one of the most famous news anchors of all time, working for the CIA to engineer reality. And they're in the business of engineering reality. And you just have to understand that so much of our reality is engineered. It doesn't mean you walk around like a schizophrenic thinking that everything's out to get you, everybody's targeting you. You see something happen on the news, you see something happen in your life, and you just have one word. Just memorize this one word when anybody listening, when you hear that stuff or see that stuff. Maybe. They say, oh, this happened today because of this one thing. Maybe. Just maybe. You don't have to say there's some global cabal and like I need to drill down to the end and go break into the Bohemian Grove and like figure out all the shit that's going on. You don't need to do all that. Just maybe. That word can protect you from so much of the bullshit that's going on with engineered reality.
Yeah, that's a nice little bleep there. I think you figured out what he was saying. Yeah, so the media is basically lying to you. And I've said for many, many years, if you want to have some sort of depth perception, you have to look at things from 2 different angles in order to have depth perception. That's why we have 2 eyes. It gives you stereoscopic vision. You can perceive depth. You have a better understanding of the world around you. Well, when you cover up one eye, you lose that depth perception. Well, when you're listening to the mainstream media, and that's why some people call it the cookie cutter news, Doesn't make any difference if you're listening to CBS or ABC or NBC or any of the other ones. They're going to give you one view of what's happening in this world. And so if you've only got one view, how much depth can you have? You don't have any perception of depth. You don't have a better view of the world around you. So this is why you have to think outside of the cage. You have to go elsewhere to get a different perspective on world events, which is exactly why I always tell people, go to, like, say, RT or Al Jazeera, or go on, onto some of the social media posts, whether it be Instagram or TikTok or X or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of horse hockey out there. Yeah, there's a lot of BS out there. Yeah, there's a lot of propaganda out there. But there's also a lot of real information out there. And in many cases, it's probably the only source of real information that you have access to. So yes, you have to use discernment. Yes, you have to be a little skeptical. And it's very easy to be taken in today's world because there's so much lies out there, so many lies out there. But getting back to this issue about whether or not there was a ceasefire that included Lebanon or not, as a matter of fact, the New York Times had put out, the White House knew about Pakistan's ceasefire post on X before it was sent. And yeah, they were saying that this includes Lebanon. So Israel is lying, and that's why Trump was pretty pissed off about that. But that's not the first time that he got bad intel from Israel. As a matter of fact, this whole thing that got kicked off is because of what Israel was telling Trump. And so Trump was making decisions on bad intel. The only way we're going to get our country back, folks, I hate to say it, is we have to purge every single member of government and media who is influenced by the Blue Star. That's the only way we're going to get our country back. And yes, there's the Epstein factor. Don't forget about that. And I've been saying this from day one. I think the most important issue that's facing humanity right now, forget just about the United States. Forget about, the global agenda, the new world order, whatever. The only way that humanity is going to survive if we can purge the satanic cults that have come up in the past. Well, they've been around for a long time, but in the past 50, 60 years, they have really taken control of not just the United States, but the entire Western world. Yes, they are all Luciferian, satanic monsters. Simple as that. And we have to expose that because these are the monsters who are influencing our children through the media, Netflix and HBO and Nickelodeon, et cetera, et cetera. We have to purge that this disgusting satanic cult from from the earth. We have to get rid of them. Anyway, I'm on a bit of a rant here. Again, the phone line is open, 215-867-8255, if you care to join me. And I realize I'm a bit all over the map today. I've just been so floored by all the stuff that's going on. Now, there are some folks that are saying that, there is a plan that Trump may very well be a genius in what he's doing. So I want to show the other side. Maybe, just maybe, there's a possibility that there is a method to this madness. And yes, it's costing, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives. But, I mean, if you're going to cut the head off the beast, there's going to be battles that have to go on. But anyway, here's a post of somebody that, let me see, who was this that posted this? This was posted by, let me see, who is it here? Bredsgard Dalen. That's what his name. Okay, so the question is, what if Trump wants to lose this war? What? Well, let's listen to his post. Like I said, I'm here to show both sides of the coin. Look at, open up the other eye, give us some depth. So Here's a different perspective on what's going on with the Iran conflict.
Okay, so what if Trump is not an idiot? What if losing the war in Iran is exactly the plan? Let me show you something the media will never tell you. So everyone is saying Trump is destroying America. He is fighting an unwinnable war in Iran. He is threatening to invade with ground troops. He is pissing off NATO by threatening Greenland. He is picking fights with Canada, Mexico, Denmark, Colombia. JP Morgan says the world will run out of oil by mid-April. The global economy is about to collapse. Trump looks like the worst president in history, a complete buffoon, right? But what if that's the whole point? What if Trump wants to lose the war in Iran? What if he wants the American empire to collapse? What if he wants to destroy the global economy? Then he would be a genius. Let me explain. Right now the world gets 20% of its oil from the Middle East. Japan gets around 75% from the Middle East. India gets around 60%. China gets around 50%. Europe is also heavily dependent. But here's the thing, oil is not rare. Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves. Canada has massive reserves. United States has massive reserves. Trump just took over Venezuela in January. He's threatening to take over Canada. You see where this is going. If Trump closes the Strait of Hormuz by fighting Iran, the Middle East oil stops flowing. But North America is still pumping. Suddenly Europe, China, Japan, South Korea, they all would need American oil. And not just oil, fertilizer too. The nitrogen for food production also comes from the Middle East. If that's cut off, where do they turn? There are only two options, North America and Russia. Trump is making the entire world dependent on the resources he controls. Now here is the genius part. Who owns the most US debt? Who's financing America's $39 trillion? It's Japan, China, Taiwan, South Korea, UK, France, Belgium, and Luxembourg, the same countries that need Middle East oil. There's been this fear that these countries would stop buying US Treasury bonds, that they would move to gold or Swiss francs, that America's Ponzi scheme would collapse. But now they need American energy. They need American resources. They can't abandon the dollar. They are trapped. Trump just turned America's biggest weakness, its debt, into its greatest weapon. By starting an unwinnable war in Iran, he's forcing the entire world to depend on North America. This isn't new. Putin already proved that this strategy works in Ukraine. Russia has been fighting for 5 years. It's a slow grind, but it has restructured Russia's entire economy around war production, drones, ammunitions, and military manufacturing. Russia went from importing Iranian drones to making their own and now exporting them to Iran. Putin's plan was that the world is collapsing anyway, so why not build a fortress, make Russia self-sufficient, control the resources, and weather the storm? America saw this and said, we can do the same. Greenland for rare earth minerals, Canada for oil and resources, Venezuela for oil reserves, Mexico for manufacturing, Panama Canal for trade control. So maybe Trump is not being reckless. He is actually building a self-sufficient North American fortress while the rest of the world burns. So yes, Trump looks like an idiot. Yes, he's losing the war in Iran. Yes, he's destroying the global economy. But if the goal was to end the American empire and rebuild it for Americans, to make the world dependent on US resources while everyone else collapses, then Trump might go down as the greatest American president in history. Maybe the New World Order is dead, and maybe we are heading towards a Trump world order. Okay, so what if...
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, that's the other side of the coin. Okay, if there really is a plan to basically be the sole provider of these natural resources, that would give an awful lot of control to Trump and the United States. So maybe that's something to contemplate. But then again, I still have to say, well, Trump and our administration and our entire government is being controlled by someone else, by another foreign influence. Of course, we all know what that foreign influence is. And I have to ask the question, is this foreign influence a good influence or a bad influence? I don't have to give you the answer. I think we all know. And I go full circle here, and now I have to ask the question, is this world being run by demons? I think that's a legitimate question. All right? And if it is being run by demons, then when we start talking about the extraterrestrial factor, and we all know that in the Bible there are angels and there are demons. Well, if this world is being run by demons, and by the way, that sort of like goes right along with Scripture, doesn't it? Doesn't it say that Satan is in charge of the world? Yeah, that seems to make sense. So if the world is being run by demons, and yet the demons are pointing the finger to the sky and saying, hey, these extraterrestrials, they're the demons, and we have to fight them when they show up. Is the table being set for Operation Bluebeam? Let's think about that for a minute. I have a feeling that maybe Dr. Stephen Greer is right. Maybe the extraterrestrials, they've been hanging around and just watching humanity for millennia, and they want to prevent us from destroying ourselves. I've mentioned it on this broadcast many times. I mean, what do you suppose would happen if you went to a daycare center and you threw a whole bunch of loaded guns on the floor and let the kids play with them? What would happen? Well, that's sort of like what's going on this planet right now, because we as human beings are not mature enough to be able to handle the technology that's now in our hands. We look at, the weapons of war that have been developed. How many nuclear warheads are on this planet right now? Russia's got them. Pakistan's got them. Israel's got them. They deny it, but we know they got them. We got them. The United States got them. China's probably, they got them too. They got a hydrogen bomb. So we have more armament to destroy the world 10 times over. And it's not outside of the realm of possibilities that we could do that. And if there are extraterrestrials that have been watching this planet for thousands of years and watching humanity develop and hoping, praying that maybe humanity would grow up and mature and figure out that the reason we're here is not to amass money and power and stuff. Maybe we're here to help each other and to proliferate and to make the world, work within the creation that God gave us, working with nature instead of trying to dominate it and control it. That's the problem here, is that until humanity matures, we're not worthy of having these weapons of mass destruction. And I think that if there is going to be some intervention by extraterrestrials, it will be to prevent us from destroying ourselves and this planet. Well, maybe that's happened before. Maybe there have been resets, global resets. Klaus Schwab was what we need is a great reset. Yeah, but not the reset that he wants. Maybe this world has already been reset. And now archaeologists are looking at some of the artifacts that they found. We're looking at civilizations that way predate the Egyptians and way predate, the Peruvians and the Aztecs and all that. Maybe, then that brings us to the stuff that they found underneath the pyramids of Giza. We're talking about structures that go almost 2 kilometers below the pyramids. Huge structures, which indicate that they were there hundreds of thousands of years ago. So we don't know. I'm just a regular guy trying to sort this out. All I want is the truth. That's all I want.
All I want is the truth now. Just give me some truth now.
That's all we want, and that's what we deserve. We shouldn't have to be, we shouldn't have to be sifting through the subterfuge and the propaganda and, the BS that's being thrown at us 24/7, 365. And again, I point out, all of the American people out there that are consuming all of the news on the mainstream, keep in mind that if you consume intellectual fecal matter, you end up with stuff for brains. Anyway. Okay, let's see. How much corruption is there? Oh, let me count the ways. Oh, man. Former Congressman George Santos was being interviewed, and he was talking about the corruption, and he actually started to name names. And here's a little piece of this interview that he gave.
Congress is committing fraud.
They're all frauds. If you were to put me,
name them.
She's saying name them. Name them. He says they're all frauds. She's going, name them.
If you were to put them all under the same scrutiny I was put under, you'd fucking vacate the whole goddamn building.
Can I name them and you just wink if I should? Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No.
Kevin McCarthy.
Yes.
Lindsey Graham.
Yes.
Matt Gaetz.
No.
Bob Menendez.
Goldbar Menendez.
Dan Goldman.
He doesn't pay his rent. Dan is owing $180,000 worth of rent right now on his $45,000 monthly rent, which is what most Americans make a year. You let that sink in.
Yeah, he's naming them. Yeah, and he said that Marjorie Taylor Greene is not one of the corrupt. Matt Gaetz is not one of the corrupt. So, yeah, it's all over the place. And Tim Burchett was screaming about the corruption, too. It's got to stop. the insider trading and all that stuff. Anyway, here's Tim Burchett on the subject of corruption.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Brian. Somebody asked me if I was going to wear my jacket up there, and I said, to quote the immortal words of Henry Winkler when he played the Fonz, I always rumble in this jacket, because that's what we're up against. This is a fist fight, folks. Now, first, I guess I need to thank Chairman Stiles and the committee, the House Admin Administration Committee, for taking this up, because I realize what we're up against. I mean, this is, everybody talks about this place being a dadgum swamp. It's not a swamp. A swamp is something cool God created. It filters water. Animal life lives and flourishes around it. This is a sewer. This is created by man, and it needs to stop. We've, for years, Congress has been using hard-working American taxpayers' money to get rich. Dadgum, it's got to stop. America knows what the heck's going on. Everybody wants to knock Pelosi. Heck, she's not even in the top 10. Get on that Unusual Whales site. This is pathetic, folks. We all know what's going on. Congress knows what the hell's going on, and it needs to stop. This body has been enriching itself on the taxpayers' dime for too dadgum long, and it's got to stop. This place is crooked and is crooked as a dog's leg. That's an old East Tennessee saying, but it's the truth, and it needs to stop. America knows what's going on. We're in committee meetings. We hear things before y'all do. We can make those connections. When you see a member of this body making 400, 500, 600 trades a year, you know something's wrong. Everybody ought to do like I do. I got my buddy Tommy Siler, who invested in my mutual fund. I ended up having to cash it out because my daughter's going to school. I'm not a wealthy man. But look, this thing is broken, and it needs to be fixed. And this is the right avenue to do it. And I want to say something. I'm going to get these guys mad at me, but I really don't care because they can't vote in my district. This thing ain't going to pass. If we're going to pass something in the House, and then guess what? The Senate will either, one, not take it up, or they'll come back in righteous indignation and say, oh, we need to make this stronger, something totally ridiculous, and they'll send it back to us. This is a scam that's being played on the American public, and it needs to stop. Let's quit with this nonsense. Let's give America a reason to trust Congress for once in our miserable lives. This is our chance to stand up and say, we hear what you're saying, America. We're going to fix this dadgum problem. But we probably won't do it. And I'll remain ticked off the rest of the day because of this. And it needs to stop. I want to thank all these folks, really. I joke around about it. You want to talk about something that, we all working together? Dadgummit, this is the issue. This is the issue where Democrats and Republicans. Dadgummit, if I can stand up here with these two.
Yeah, he's pointing to the Democrats behind him because they're with him they're on board with exposing the corruption too.
Yeah, these two. I mean, people back in East Tennessee are going, what in the heck's Burchett doing sitting next to Proud Paul, for goodness sakes? Well, I'm not going to beat her in her district, and she sure as heck ain't going to come down to East Tennessee and beat me. But this is an issue that America's united on.
It's a nonpartisan issue. This has got nothing to do with Republicans or Democrats or liberals or conservatives or red or blue. It's for all of America. And again, the corruption has been going on for a long, long, long time. As a matter of fact, former CIA officer John Carrico was talking about the JFK assassination. You want to talk about corruption on that one? I wonder who was behind that one.
So I have a friend who is close to the president, and I said to him at the time that the documents were released, about a year ago, I said, thank God that the president finally released the remaining documents. And he said, no, he didn't. I said, yeah, he did. He was compelled by law. Congress passed a law twice compelling the president to release all documents related to the Kennedy assassination. He said, there are 10,000 documents that are never going to be released. And I said, why? And he said, because every single one of them points directly at Israel.
Ooh.
And I said, oh man, that's not one that I was thinking of. He says that the Israelis were so angry that A, John Kennedy wouldn't give them nuclear technology. But more importantly, B, he was actively trying to disrupt the Israelis from acquiring nuclear technology. And they decided they had to take him out.
Yes, they did. And it wasn't just that. It was also the fact that he was trying to derail the Federal Reserve by issuing his executive order that allowed the U.S. Treasury to start printing United States notes. The Federal Reserve didn't like that. So, who's in charge of the Federal Reserve? Yeah. Who's in charge of the group out there charging usury? It all goes back to full circle. We got good people or bad people? Are they angelic and what's the word I'm looking for? Benevolent. Yes, beneficial, benevolent. Or do they have malice? Are they malevolent? So we have to ask the question full circle. Is this world being run by good people or bad people? Angelic people or demonic people? So, I mean, I know I'm throwing some, esoteric and philosophical thoughts out there, but I can't help but think that, if there is good versus evil, if there are angels versus demons, I look at this planet right now and I have to ask the question, who's in charge? And I can't, I remember all those years ago, all those conversations I had with Ted Gunderson about the proliferation of the satanic cults that were propping up all over the country back in the 70s and 80s, and all the stuff that was going on. And like I said, the conversations that I had with him were hair curling. Yeah, it's just horrible. So, yeah, I do believe that Satan or Lucifer or whatever has got a stranglehold on most of the governments of this world. And then I have to ask the question, who out there would support that? And it was Harold Rosenthal. Let me see if I can pull that up here. I think I still have that tab open here. Let's see, where is it? The Harold Rosenthal interview. Here it is. Yeah, and this was published on rents.com, and this is an interview that was way back in, I think it was 1976. Charles A. Wiseman did the interview with Harold Wallace Rosenthal, and you might want to look it up, the Harold Wallace Rosenthal interview, and read it. And it was written out by Serena Martin, and the interview was done by Charles Wiseman. And he comes flat out and he says, and we've also had that confirmed by Rabbi Abe Finkelstein, that their God is Lucifer. They come flat out and say it. So again, for all you folks out there that's saying, yeah, they're God's chosen people, well, you have to ask the question, which God? I mean, I'm asking legitimate questions here based on historical fact, documentation, and their actions. So, if they're God's chosen people, what God are they worshiping? So I don't know. I'm trying to think outside the cage here. I don't want to get anybody pissed off, but I mean, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it swims like a duck and it flies like a duck, and it's a duck. It's not a moose. Whew. Anyway, it's a crazy clown world we're living in, and hopefully we can keep above the bad vibes, the bad juju, if you will. Don't let that negativity, don't let that frequency consume you. It's in the Bible 365 times, do not fear. I'm telling you once for every day of the year, do not fear. Fear is the opposite of love. Some people say, oh, what's the opposite of love? You say hate. No, hate, no. The opposite of love is fear, because fear begats hate. And no matter what's going to happen in this crazy world, as long as you stay tuned in to the love in your heart and the love around you. I mean, go outside and look at the trees and look at the grass and look at the sky. How can you not have love in your heart when you see all that? All right, I realize I was a bit off the rails today. I got a lousy start, You know what happens? You're going to run a foot race and you got your feet in the starting blocks and all of a sudden you slip right as the gun goes off. That's how I felt on today's show. But anyway, that said, I still hope you enjoyed the broadcast. And if so, and if you're watching on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube or Facebook, please click like, share, subscribe, and above all else, share it by word of mouth. That's the best advertising. And by the way, you can support the broadcast by picking up a Wave Watch. You'll find out about it at our website, TheWTFReports.com. And then there's also the Get More Tank and also our merch, coffee cups, baseball caps, T-shirts, etc., etc. Support the broadcast. Help us pay the bills. All right, that said, God willing, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank God it's Friday, TGIF. So until then, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and God bless you all. See you tomorrow.